Our choices participate in what becomes possible. There's much of our larger ecology as anything else. Life unfolds through countless conditions, and many of those conditions remain beyond our awareness. Welcome to Reweaving Systems from Nervous to Regulated. I'm Miss Jana, educator, system weaver, and your fellow traveler in how humans make sense of the world. This isn't a podcast. This is a nervous system attunement lab. In Season 2, The Bridge begins where the sanctuary leaves off. Not with more noticing, but with what do we do with what we've noticed? Here we explore how experience is shaped by the environments we've lived in, by the relationships we've been a part of, and by the stories we've learned to carry. If you've ever felt responsible for more than your share, or sensed that there's a larger story underneath what you're living, welcome to The Bridge. This is Reweaving Systems from Nervous to Regulated. I am Miss Jana. Welcome to Season 2, The Bridge. In our first Moonloom arc, we will be talking about honest visibility. This is the new moon, a time where nothing needs to be different from what it is today. We can simply arrive and begin with a question. And today's question is, what has been organizing this? Recently, I met with a coworker for coffee. She's preparing to become a mom, and somewhere in the middle of our conversation, we found ourselves talking about what it means to be someone else's mother while also remaining our own person. And as she spoke, a memory surfaced. It was a regular Friday afternoon in the early fall when my boys were much younger. We were settling into a familiar new rhythm with a school year, with lunches and permission slips and the feeling that life is moving a little bit faster than we can keep up. A family member called me, and I'll never forget, the phone rang, and they were like, "Do you mind if the boys come and spend the night this evening?" Of course, they were thrilled. And if I'm honest, I was also thrilled. Suddenly, I realized I have an evening to myself. And at first, it felt like an unexpected gift. And just as quickly, my mind began filling with possibilities. Maybe I'll meet a friend for dinner. Maybe I'll finish the book that's been sitting on my nightstand. Maybe I'll simply go to bed early and get some rest. Then almost without even noticing, something shifts. And in comes another set of thoughts. Maybe I should get grocery shopping done. Maybe I should start laundry. Ooh, this would be the perfect time to get ahead on lesson plans for next week. When I think back to those thoughts, what stayed with me is how quickly an ordinary evening would shift into something else. Like within minutes, that unexpected gift of time arrived with a whole set of rules. A quiet sense of what would be the most responsible choice. A feeling that if productivity deserves the very first invitation versus assuming that rest must be earned in the first place. All of this was simply there. The experience had arrived already organizing. And that realization has lingered with me for a long time since that evening's passed. For years, I assumed experiences simply happen. We feel guilty, we become irritated, we avoid a conversation, we feel anxious, we procrastinate, and almost immediately we ask, what should I be doing about that now? Should I stop overthinking? Should I become more disciplined? Do I make a better choice next time? It is as if I kept running all of these questions through that Friday evening. And I began wondering, what if those questions have come too late? Our choices participate in what becomes possible. There's much of our larger ecology as anything else. Life unfolds through countless conditions, and many of those conditions remain beyond our awareness. Unexpected things happen every day, but perhaps our experiences are not what exactly is happening that moment, but what first is appearing in that moment. And that possibility changed the way that I looked at the world. When a garden flourishes, we don't usually assume that happened by chance. We become very curious about what produced it, the type of soil, the amount of light, how much water, what season was it planted, and what season did it bloom. There's countless conditions that are interacting with us over time. No single condition fully explains the garden, yet together it creates a picture of what becomes possible. And I'm wondering if our human experience might work in a similar way. Like a garden, our experiences emerge through the conditions that we've been interacting with over time. The meanings we've inherited, maybe from other people's expectations, or maybe from a relationship we lived within, or maybe the environment we adapted to. It can also be expectations of others that we've absorbed. These are the pressures we've learned to carry within our bodies, within our history, and within systems that we live inside of. Together, they participate in shaping what becomes possible for us. And if this is true, then the question begins to change. Instead of asking, what's wrong with me? We might begin asking, what has been shaping this? We might become curious about the conditions from which our reactions emerged. Why do I automatically assume I should make this moment productive? Clarity helps us recognize where responsibility actually belongs, where support is actually needed, and how conditions have shaped what we can see as possibility. If anything, this helps us place responsibility more accurately. It becomes easier to distinguish between what belongs to us, what belongs to circumstances, and what belongs to the systems we've been participating inside of. That shift changed more than how I understood myself. It changed how I understood people. A child struggling in a classroom, a friend withdrawing from a relationship, a difficult conversation, a workplace caught in constant urgency, a family repeating the same conflict. Again and again, I find myself wondering, what has been organizing this? Humans' lives unfold through interactions with all of these many conditions. The more we learn to see interactions through the lens of what conditions are affecting this, the larger picture we have of the entire experience. Because experiences alone rarely produce one thing. Experiences emerge through many conditions interacting together. The more I learn to look at conditions, the less random life seems to be. Patterns begin to appear where I had once only seen problems. Context appears where I had once only seen behavior. And curiosity slowly began to replace the assumptions I was having. Looking back, I think this is where the bridge really begins. Not with an answer, not with a method, but with the growing realization that an experience is often organized by what we can see when it first appears. And perhaps our understanding is often limited by what that first appearance is. Over the next several weeks, we're going to explore that possibility together. We'll learn to notice the conditions, the relationships, meanings, the organizing principles that have quietly shaped what becomes possible. And together, we'll develop a new kind of literacy, one that helps us see more of reality and understand our experiences more deeply, so that we can participate in life with greater honesty and greater care. When I sat across from my friend that afternoon, as we shared coffee and shared stories, I realized the question, what has been organizing this, has been quietly traveling with me for years. It followed me into classrooms. It followed me into my parenting journey. It's followed me into friendships and into relationships. And honestly, it's followed me into difficult conversations. Over time, it's become less of a question I ask, and it's more of a way I'm learning to see. That's the invitation I'd like to offer you. The next time something surprises you, the next time you find yourself reaching for a familiar way of responding or doing something, the next time an ordinary moment quietly begins to appear a larger story, perhaps we can learn to look through it from a larger view. Perhaps the experience carries history. Perhaps something has been shaping the moment that arrived long before our awareness. And perhaps your experience has emerged through the conditions, relationships, meanings, and circumstances that have been interacting with your life. We don't have to rush towards any explanation. We don't have to decide what this means about us. We simply begin with a question. What has been organizing this? We'll continue following that thread together over the next moon loom. And as we move toward the first quarter moon, the question continues its quiet work. What has been organizing this? You may find us returning to ordinary moments or a conversation, a reaction, a relationship, a feeling you can't quite explain. Don't rush towards the answer. Sometimes the question in and of itself is enough to help us see beyond what is already there. Next time, we are going to take the question a step further, and we are going to begin asking what conditions are shaping what's possible here. Until then, the loom grows quiet, the threads hold, and the weaving continues.